U.S. Tzu Chi volunteers conduct a rice distribution and the year-end blessing ceremony in Haiti. China Tzu Chi volunteers send warmth to long-term scholarship recipients, with many giving back themselves. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Lori Chen. Thank you for joining us. After the earthquake of the century hit Haiti in 2010, Tzu Chi has never suspended their assistance. For the start of 2019, the first rice distribution took place in the capital, Port-au-Prince. Around 1,300 impoverished families received a bag of 20 kilograms of Taiwan's Great Love rice each. On the same day, the year blessing ceremony also took place. It's hard to have a radical transformation in Haiti. However, 9 years ago, both the tangible and intangible things were completely destroyed. So far, lying on the ground, the people have been stranded. From miles away, Taiwan's Great Love rice was successfully delivered to Port-au-Prince, Haiti. This is the first distribution of 2019. More than 200 people, including U.S. Tzu Chi volunteers, local priests, police officers, and local volunteers, conducted a distribution for over 1,000 households.
I have been in line since 6 a.m. this morning. I am very grateful for the rice. My family really needed it.
In the impoverished land of Haiti, a spring of spiritual water has been introduced. At the Tzu Chi year-end blessing ceremony, local volunteers all participated in the walking meditation, awakened through learning.
Master wants us not only the secular lives, secular lives of money. This is wisdom money. Hope everybody has a wisdom.
Tzu Chi has completely changed my outlook on life. Now I have learned that I need to do good deeds to help others. This is something that I would never have done before.
The good affinities were created starting from disaster relief work. Now Tzu Chi and Haiti have an unbreakable bond. 2019 is starting off with plenty of best wishes. In New Taipei City, Tzu Chi care recipients were invited to the Sanchong Jingsi Hall for a year reunion. One of the burn survivors of the 2015 Color Play Asia incident shared his challenging recovery process with the participants. In addition, many volunteer hairdressers were also on site to give free haircuts.
Back then, the success rate of my surgery was only 5%. It was because I was mentally strong that I was able to survive.
Huang Bowei is one of the burn survivors from the Formosa Fun Coast Water Park incident. In his own words, he has no complaints.
I'm actually a person who is physically challenged. Despite this, I have no barriers because I have opened my mind.
Tzu Chi care recipients were invited to the Sanchong grounds for a reunion, where sharing sessions and various activities were also organized. It was doctors who were in charge of serving dishes. Outside, there were some hairdressers providing free haircuts.
I can see that all of them are young people who have aspirations in life, but I hope that they can turn from young people to promising youth with the guidance of good coaches.
The reunion is full of positive energy, which is also an event for people to encourage and accompany one another.
In Taichung, there's a very dedicated recycling volunteer named Lai Shou'er. Shortly after retiring, she suffered from a stroke. She's always been living by herself, so the recovery process was quite lonely. It was thanks to doing recycling that she found herself opening up her heart again. She even provided her home as a recycling spot for the community. The neighbors will often visit her, and thus she's no longer all alone.
This needs to be recycled. The paper kind is on this side. This is all trash, bento boxes and also paper materials. They didn't finish eating their bento. There's ants crawling on it. I'm going to take it back home and wash it, and then hang it up to dry.
常常来，家也拢伊咧收。
所以家里有资源就会。
资源就是他来拿呀，来给阮收10几年啊啦。
足热心的啦。
哎呀，足热心的啊，11点多还在外面在收。
有形式啊。
哎呀，很晚了呢。
透风落雨，拢咧捡啦，无怕咧休困啦。
No, I've never really been in a relationship. I'm already this old. Nobody will want me. Yeah, there was one time when a date was set up, but he didn't like me. I think it's because I look like a boy. Anyways, he didn't like me, so I just let it go.
She lives alone and was never married. Before she retired, she was the human resources director at a local elementary school. She had a stable income and owned her own home. However, Shoa was never like your typical single and rich person. She was different. She didn't mind the filth or foul smells. She would go dig in various trash cans for recyclable goods. She had a passion for protecting Mother Earth. This motivation helped her after she suffered from a stroke to be able to walk out of the shadows. Step by step, collecting recyclable goods really helped her with the stroke recovery process.
Because Shoa has always been living alone, we hoped that she could have more contacts with the outside world. We wanted her to be able to open up her heart to others, so we kept on thinking of different ways for her to interact with others. Therefore, we invited her to open up her home and let us use it as a recycling spot. This way, neighbors from all over can walk into her home and interact with her. It's a great way for her to open up her heart.
She is quite isolated, so I kept on teaching her different ways to interact with the public. I told her that when people come by to drop off the recycled goods, we must thank them. Needed to say thank you, otherwise she's always quiet.
I'm interacting a lot more with others now. The people just kept on coming, kept on dropping by with their recyclable goods. The door is wide open. Whoever wants to stop by can stop by. Before it used to be closed. Now it's completely open. So more and more people like to show up now.
Look how clean it is. I will always make it a point to drop off my recyclable goods here because she works very hard. She will wash everything that is dropped off. One time her arm was injured and she had it in a sling. Even with one hand, she was still doing recycling. So I really admire her. Plus, she has this beautiful house. Look at the gate, it's gorgeous. I remember the first time that I came over, I couldn't believe that this was the recycling spot. Her home is so beautiful, and she's willing to turn it into a recycling spot. She's really something else. Good job, Shoa. In the 8 years of the Syrian civil war, many refugees have taken refuge in Turkey, which has created quite a tension situation for the two countries. As the two sides learned to get to know one another better, there were inevitable conflicts and misunderstandings along the way. Let's check out an in-depth report.
Under fire, these Syrians fled north. Adapting to their new homeland in the shortest possible time has been difficult. For example, Turks have different customs, such as this home delivery. Everything can be found in the markets, but you need to know the right prices to avoid being cheated. There's a subway underground, and there are trams above ground. There are also buses, though traffic jams seem to be a constant. Walking on the street, you can see who is a resident and who is a refugee. This is all quite obvious. But when the density of Syrians gets higher and higher, some people begin to become suspicious.
The Turks who used to recycle the cardboard boxes are now replaced by Syrians. They are more or less crowded out now.
In this textile factory, Turks and Syrians often work on the same piece of cloth.
I came to Turkey 4 years ago. I have nothing. I worked in this factory for 2 to 3 months. I also found a place to live. I'm very grateful to the Turkish boss for taking me and allowing me to work.
I have 9 people in my family, but I only need 1 person to work to support the whole family. But here you know that it is not easy to ask for. I don't speak any Turkish.
It's never easy to live on someone else's land. It's always better to enjoy the warm feeling of your hometown. Ali's congenital disability means that Tzu Chi visited to send him a blanket. Just as volunteers were at his home, his landlord is also there, as Ali hasn't paid rent for 2 months.
We may also encounter the same situation for war tomorrow. This house is also my hard work, but everyone is a Muslim brother. We rely on God. I must help him.
But the landlord also has an important point he must stress.
This Syrian food is mainly made with garlic and onions. It's quite sour food. When we all go to the mosque to worship, the smell can be quite bad.
Speaking of food, Syrians take great pride in their native cuisine.
Syrian food is great. It really suits the climate.
The seasoned bread stick is a favorite snack for Syrian children, and it can frequently be found on the streets of Sultan Ghazi at Syrian general stores. After 7 years, it has become easier for these Syrian refugees to integrate, though there are still some problems that both sides are having trouble adapting to.
If the Syrian has good manners, I will be nice to him. If he has evil intent, he is not welcome. Now I can't say. I will wait until tomorrow to decide.
I mean, there are people in a war, their country losing their houses, lives, parents, everything is horrible. So it's, as humans, neighbor countries, I think we need to open our doors, help. But, there is but. Meanwhile, we shouldn't support the war. The financial part of the war, the politic games, that kind of stuff.
It's inevitable that water will meet at one point, though it may take 100 years. When lives are interrupted, helping hands can provide warmth and a way out for many people who are struggling.
Turning our cameras to China, Tzu Chi volunteers send love and warmth to the local long-term scholarship recipients. For more than 10 years, Tzu Chi has supported impoverished children in the remote mountain villages in receiving a proper education. Now that many of them are in college, they've started to give back to their own communities.
Tzu Chi volunteers deliver more than 10 items while sending love to the Jingyuan village in Gansu province. The blankets made from PET bottles have warmed the heart of care recipients. For over 10 years, Tzu Chi has been helping impoverished families in the remote mountain village and help children to receive education. Volunteers have become friends with residents in DaAi village.
These are children in DaAi village.
Lanzhou volunteers have been very kind to me. I feel that Tzu Chi is my second home other than my parents. I'm very happy and touched. My father is also very cheerful today to receive these supplies.
Many scholarship recipients have grown up to be adults. In addition to receiving aid supplies, they've served as volunteers to give back.
It's really a great help for us. We've used all the rice and towels we receive.
Last year, I was here to receive goods, and this year I'm the one that's giving. I feel very glad.
Volunteers from Taiwan have been touched by local residents. They've expressed their love and care while distributing aid supplies.
Through interactions, we want them to know that we are not just here to deliver goods, but we are here to give warmth. I felt moved when the care recipient is willing to share his life stories and shake hands with me.
The cold weather can't stop these scholarship recipients from volunteering. Gao Bingyuan's hand was cut by paper, but she insisted to stay and help.
I like to help others because it's a very meaningful thing to do. I want to join you in the future.
Great love and warmth have continued to spread and will last for generations.
Staying in Gansu, one of the care recipients, Tzu Chi, lost her son due to a work-related accident. Collapsed by the pain, she fell into a deep depression that cut her off from the outside world. Fortunately, due to Tzu Chi volunteers' regular home visits, she eventually opened up her heart again.
After moving to Dashanli, many villagers have improved their lives dramatically. Tzu Chi has undertaken home visits this winter to care for such families.
I came here last year. Tzu Chi volunteer Ye Ping has come several years. I think this kind of annual interaction has become a happy time for them.
Tzu Chi is only 130 centimeters tall. Though she is like a treasure for volunteers. After her son's accidental death, she once severed connections with the outside world until the volunteers visited her every year.
Because I don't have a father myself, I really think of them as my parents. This is how I interact with them. Actually, after hearing their stories, I really want to be their child. I want them to feel a little comfort in their heart and let them know that in this world, someone is thinking about them. Du Caixia doesn't really want much. Actually, she just wants to get together with us, the volunteers. This is the best thing that makes her happy.
Every year, when it's close to Lunar New Year, these feelings for those here is like having more and more children. When these volunteers leave, there are always tears flowing. In this village, the wanderer returns home.
父亲去世得早，您一手将我们3个抚养长大，这其中的辛苦，从我现在的阅历是无法体会得到的。我那时候会抱怨您都不会放在心上，但儿子还是想跟您说声对不起。
来吃一口啊，来哦，好吃哦，来吃一口。
During these reunions, mothers may be very busy, but it is also the time when they feel happiest and share the joys of a big family.
After the winter event of spreading warmth and love to the long-term scholarship recipients in Gansu took place, Tzu Chi volunteers headed over to the students' homes. The team consisted of 34 volunteers from Taiwan, Sichuan, Guangxi, and Gansu.
In winter, this plateau is covered with snow, which can be a desolate scene for man.
这还算是好的，我们还可以扛一扛，是吧？对，那你如果说是别有些特别。
After distributing warmth and compassion, Tzu Chi volunteers didn't stop to take a break as they carry out home visits. What was inaccessible by car, volunteers went by foot to see people, such as Liu Zibo's grandmother. Grandmother Liu loves to keep a clean and spotless house. Worried about the cold weather in Gansu, she invites all the guests to her house to sit on her warm bed. As his grandmother and the volunteers are chatting, her grandson, Liu Zibo, returns home with the materials he received in the morning. Volunteers accompany him as he takes inventory of the items in his bag.
Try to use or avoid plastic products. That's because these are resources that need to be dug out of the earth and can't return to their original state. It's all petroleum products, so try not to use them.
In these mountainous areas, the distance between households is quite far. This increases the amount of time spent by volunteers, though no one says they are tired. This is because the needs of these families are far more important than the fatigue of volunteers. Mr. Liu accompanied his daughter in the morning and brought the materials and compassion home. He didn't expect to see Tzu Chi volunteers appear at his house. He says it's like warmth and joy entering his house.
Our place is really backward. We are thanking for help from the state or Tzu Chi, helping her complete her studies at the university. We are very touched.
Few people visit these mountainous areas. Today, Tzu Chi volunteers brought warmth and compassion to these remote, impoverished areas.
The winter months is swinging in full force. This time, 50 volunteers and entrepreneurs headed to Shenyang, Jiangxi. Therefore, before the Chinese Lunar New Year arrives, they brought various New Year gifts for the many intergenerational families, hoping to take off some of their burdens.
当你老了，头发白了，睡意昏沉。
The elderly population has to look after their grandchildren. Therefore, Tzu Chi volunteers came to bring them presents for the Chinese Lunar New Year.
Grandma, you have 2 bottles of cooking oil. Happy New Year.
The Tzu Chi family brings me warmth, so I feel quite fortunate. My goal is to become the second Jack Ma. I learned it from the class today that anyone can have the potential to become the next Jack Ma. As long as you have confidence and be open-minded, anything is possible.
Many of these children are orphans. How do Tzu Chi volunteers give them warmth?
3级员红，第4个人，4级人就变成超人了。
Through playing games, the volunteers and the children were drawn closer to each other.
如果想要什么，就有什么，又怎么会珍惜你拥有？
Zhang Tong has been bringing her employees to Tzu Chi events for 5 years already, so she has a very deep connection with Tzu Chi.
You can't easily describe Tzu Chi's charitable actions as just good deeds. They're actually opportunities for spiritual cultivation. To all of us, being able to be a part of it all is really a great blessing. We're able to have the chance to create more positive affinities.
A doctor also came to help out, all because of a scarf she received 10 years ago.
Tzu Chi gave out scarves to the students of Anhui Quanjiao Tzu Chi Middle School 10 years ago. Many years have gone by, so it is very cold. However, each time I take part in a Tzu Chi event, I always take it out from a special bag, where I put Tzu Chi items. Even though it might not be worth a lot in monetary value, but it is the most valuable treasure to me.
The winter has turned many people's noses red, but their hearts are staying warm. The Lunar New Year is arriving soon. Therefore, Tzu Chi volunteers from the Kuala Lumpur and Selangor chapter in Malaysia conducted an end-of-the-year celebration for a total of 43 stroke patients and their families. They all gathered at the Kuala Lumpur Buddha's Tzu Chi Free Clinic, enjoying the specially planned Lunar New Year festivities. What a heartwarming scene. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.